What's up, guys? We're here in Lincoln, Rhode Island, and Central Falls Police have the road shut down. I don't know how they're supposed to operate there. How's it going, guys? Thank you for your service. I just went back to school. My professor says I have to ask one officer if they can give me the 5 parts of the First Amendment. Would you be able to help me out?
Say that again?
I just went back to school. My professor wants me to ask one officer if they can tell me the 5 parts of the First Amendment.
Okay. Where do you go to school?
Brown.
Brown?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, the First Amendment, you have freedom of speech, freedom of press, and gather around. That includes the protest as well. The Second Amendment is freedom of speech.
You missed a couple. You're 3 out of 5 on the First Amendment. Do you know the other 2?
There's religious.
Yeah.
There's press.
Yeah.
Speech.
Yeah.
Protest.
Yeah.
And I'm still missing 2.
1 now. You got religion. You left that one out the first time.
Oh, I cannot think of it.
I got a random question because this is Lincoln, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And this is the second time I've seen Central Falls do. How does that work? Detail with Lincoln.
Yeah, so we have mutual agreement Lincoln. So sometimes when they cannot fulfill details, like road details, like this requires an officer to be on site, they call surrounding cities.
Okay.
Like even if you walk down the street, there's that Woonsocket cruiser as well.
Really?
Yeah. So and not a little further than we are, but yeah, they're here too.
Interesting.
And what we do is just to help out each other, and that includes with calls too.
Okay, just one more thing. You were saying the Second Amendment, right? You know how the Second Amendment is like shall not be infringed?
Say that again?
You know the Second Amendment, as you're about to tell me, says shall not be infringed, right?
Okay, yeah.
The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But yet people have to ask for licenses. You guys get people for quote unquote illegal guns, ghost guns all the time. Isn't that doing something unconstitutional?
I mean, let's talk about the illegal guns.
What would you how would you define a gun as being illegal?
So, put it this way, kind of like a car. You get a car, you purchase the car, you go to the DMV, you register the vehicle's on your name, especially let's say for example the vehicle gets stolen, you get somehow a way to track the vehicle, right? So the gun is the same way. You own it, it's on your name. So let's say you lost your...
I would, just to interrupt you, I would actually disagree with that because we have the right, that's why it's the part of the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment. Whenever you get a license for something, you're asking the government for permission for a right that you don't already have. So any licensing, we have the right to travel. We shouldn't even need to get licenses. Marriage license started when, after the Civil War, black people weren't considered human. And so they had to get a license from the government to get married. White people could just get married whatever they wanted. But black people were not considered human, so they had to ask the government permission. Anytime you get a license or anything like that, that's why it shall not be infringed. Even to license or register is an infringement on your Second Amendment. I'll leave you with one final thing. Are you familiar in the period of the early 1900s when the United States outlawed alcohol and they got a constitutional amendment to make alcohol legal?
No, so unfortunately, I'm not. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I'm not very familiar with most of the stuff from the United States, to be honest with you. So no, I'm not.
So one of the things that happened, it was called prohibition, and they prohibited the sale of alcohol. Are you familiar with Al Capone, the gangster?
Yes.
He got rich and famous because they made alcohol illegal, so he bootlegged the alcohol, right? And so when they made alcohol legal, they took that away after a while. I think it was like 9 years. I forget. But the one thing that you guys do that's unconstitutional every single day is you guys take part in the war on drugs. So the war on drugs was never constitutionally approved. There's no law that says that we can't have drugs. For a long time we could. And any law that says we can't goes against the supremacy clause of the Constitution. So every time you guys pull somebody over for a gun or the war on drugs, you are taking a poop on your oath to the Constitution, on the backs of the men, women, and children who've given blood, sweat, and tears so that we have those freedoms. And on top of that, too, you're always looking for people's Fourth Amendments. You have an ID, but that's our Fourth Amendment. We're supposed to be secure in our persons and things. So how seriously do you take your oath, my friend?
So again, half of the what you just said is something that I just learned is the one. Now, breaking it down, as far as like the ID portion. So, in certain scenarios, we don't demand an ID, we ask for an ID.
Sure.
We
But
understand.
it's like intimidating because, you know, when a cop tells you something, most people are just think it's a lawful order, even if it's not, and they're under threat and duress. You guys have guns and stuff, so I do understand what you're saying, though.
And that's unfortunately, that's gonna be on them because if there's nothing that we're doing to intimidate that person other than we're doing our job. Whether the person feels that type of way, that's something that we cannot control.
Cool. I appreciate you gentlemen speaking with me. What's your name and badge number?
So my name is Cintron, Officer Cintron.
Cintron?
31, yeah.
Yours?
Officer Witherspoon, 36.
If you go and find out, if you Google later and you find out that the war on drugs never got the constitutional amendment to make it illegal, would you still enforce arresting people for having what you would determine illegal guns or drugs, even though it's not in the Constitution?
So before answering that, I will have to do my due diligence. And
That's what I'm asking. If you did do your due diligence.
so I can formulate an opinion now because I
Cool.
don't know.
I appreciate that.
research
I think you are a very friendly, approachable, and down-to-earth officer. I've been across this entire country, and I've asked thousands of officers. I used to start with the Third Amendment. My friend was like, why don't you ask him the First Amendment? Not one has gotten it right in the country. And so you were at least awesome enough to sit here, talk to me, not be a douchebag. And I do believe that you're the type of person, pardon me. I do believe that you're the type of individual that you will look this up. I don't know if you will do anything about it. That takes a really strong person because you didn't know about half this stuff, right? But when you raise your hand to God in front of your countrymen and on the backs of all the people that have died to give us freedom, that's a huge thing. And it's easy, just like when a cop pulls me over and say, hey, get out the car, do this and that. It might not even be lawful, but I'm intimidated, I'm scared, right? So I'm gonna go along with that. Just like that, lawmakers, your superiors, they give you illegal orders all the time. I think you're a good man, and I think there's at least a 5% chance that you will find out what the truth is. And you know what? There might even be a 1% chance that you find out and you stop becoming a cop. I hope that for you. I hope that for you because you're a good man. You guys have a good day. Where was that Woonsocket cop? Down over here?
She should be like somewhere down there.
I don't know if I'm going to do all that. Well, you gentlemen have a good day, though. I appreciate that, man. Please look that up, G.
All right, be safe.
Yeah, it's too late.